In this episode of Micromatic, I'm going to talk about the benefits of EVFs versus LCDs. So one of the benefits of Micro Four Thirds and really most modern mirrorless cameras is you get the option of shooting. You get to shoot from either the rear LCD screen or you get to shoot from an electronic viewfinder. And each of these options has its own benefits and really, depending on your shooting scenario, you can kind of pick and choose between them. Now, sometimes a lot of cameras, they don't come with a viewfinder, right? This camera, in fact, doesn't come with a viewfinder. I had to buy this separately and attach it. And a lot of times when people are picking out a new camera to buy, they're having to make the decision, do I want to pay extra for a camera that has a viewfinder built into it? Do I want to just buy whatever camera doesn't have a viewfinder and just kind of forget about it? Or do I want to maybe upgrade to a viewfinder in the future? And really, it's a very personal choice, but I'm going to go over some of the benefits of each, right? There's benefits to shooting with a viewfinder, and there are benefits to shooting with the LCD screen on the back. So I'll start with viewfinders. The main benefit of a viewfinder when you're shooting like this is that you get probably the best version of, or the best idea of what your exposure is going to look like before you hit the shutter. If you're, shooting off the touch screen and you've got the camera out like this, a lot of the times, if you're out in daylight, there's glare on the screen and it might be hard to tell if the image is in fact correctly exposed. You might end up relying on the camera to determine the exposure for you. With an electronic viewfinder, you've got that image kind of enclosed around your eye, and it makes it really easy to tell if the image is correctly exposed. It makes it easy to see which bits are in focus. Where the LCD screen, even though it's a little bit bigger, just because it's not right up against your eye and it's not shielded from the sun, sometimes it makes it a little bit difficult. And so that's the big reason why electronic viewfinders are so nice. Another really nice thing about electronic viewfinders is that it kind of is a little bit more private of a shooting experience. I'll use an analogy. I used to like to draw. All the time, just kind of doodling on paper, and I hated it when people would look over my shoulders and watch me draw because if I was in the middle of drawing, it wasn't necessarily something I was willing to put forward. Or, honestly, if you're taking photographs, not every photograph you take, even if you're a really good photographer, not every photo is going to be one that you want people to see. And so when you have an electronic viewfinder and you're shooting like this, you don't have to worry about people either looking over your shoulder or, I don't know, it just feels like a more private shooting experience. Maybe it feels a little bit safer to take a stealth shot of somebody, and it's kind of easier to pretend that you're not actually looking at them because you're looking into the viewfinder. It's kind of hard to describe, but it is a nicer, more private way to shoot. And then the third benefit of electronic viewfinders, and really any viewfinder, is the added stability. When you have the viewfinder up against your face like this, it basically forms, you've got one hand on the camera, say two hands on the camera, now you've got a third point of contact, and kind of like a tripod, it adds stability to your exposure. If you're not shooting a long exposure, maybe it doesn't matter. But let's say even you've got a long telephoto lens on this, right? If I don't have the benefit of a tripod, and most of the times I don't carry a tripod with me, if I don't have that benefit of a tripod, having this added stability actually helps quite a bit. And it's one of the reasons why I do enjoy having an EVF when I've got it with me. But there's a lot to be said for the old LCD screen as well. And for this video's purposes, let's assume you've got a tilting LCD screen. On this camera, I actually don't. The one that I'm shooting with, I do have a tilting LCD screen. And so some of these benefits will assume you've got a tilting. For example, the first benefit of shooting from your LCD screen rather from your viewfinder is that you can get more interesting angles. It's a lot easier to hold the camera down low or hold the camera up high, and you can tilt the screen and see what you're going to take a picture of. Whereas if I was trying to get that down low picture of, let's say, a flower, and I wanted to shoot through the viewfinder, I might have to get in a really awkward position in order to see what I'm actually taking a picture of. And so when you have a tilting screen, you can tilt it down, even if it doesn't tilt, honestly. But especially with the tilting screen, you can tilt it out and it makes it really, really easy to get different angles. And when I talked in a couple videos back, I talked about better composition. And one of my suggestions was to try different angles. Don't always shoot from your eye level, because your eye level is perfectly interesting. You're a beautiful, awesome human being. I'm interested in your perspective. However, it's not always the best angle to take a picture. Especially, let's say we go back to that flower shot, right? A picture of a flower from your perspective, sorry buddy, not that interesting, but a picture of a flower from a really low angle, that can be pretty cool. Another benefit to shooting from the LCD is that it's a little bit more stealth. Even though I said that shooting from the viewfinder can feel a little bit more private, shooting from the LCD screen, especially when you can tilt it out, it allows you to shoot from the hip. So instead of, walking up and popping the camera up like this and taking a picture and assuming the photographer's pose, you can actually just kind of hold the camera down at your hip and shoot. And a lot of the times people don't even notice that there's a camera around. And I'm not suggesting you go out there and you take sneaky shots of people because they don't want their shots taken. I just think that a lot of the times pictures get ruined when people realize that there's a picture being taken of them, right? A lot of the times people either they freeze or they try to pose or they try to smile, and really you just want a candid shot. And when you're shooting from an LCD screen, you can hold it down low. A lot of times, again, they're not gonna notice that they're being photographed, and it makes it a lot more stealth, makes it just kind of a lot less intimidating too when you're photographing people, your friends. Now, the third benefit to LCD screens is that very often they're touch screens. And if you've done any photography with a touchscreen, you should know the benefits of it, but maybe you don't. What's great about the touchscreen, especially with these modern cameras, is that you can set your focus point just by tapping where you want to set the focus point, right? If I'm trying to do that all with controls and through the viewfinder, it's a lot of really clunky clicking around, and it takes much longer, and it's just not nearly as intuitive. Whereas if I'm using the touchscreen, it's super, super easy to reach down, set a focus point, and then take my shot. If I'm shooting through the viewfinder, a lot of times I will, even if it's a shot where I know I want to use the viewfinder, a lot of the times I'll pull it away from my face and use the touchscreen and then put it back up. But again, that's kind of slowing me down. If I was just shooting from the LCD in the first place, I wouldn't, it's that much quicker. So LCD versus EVF, which one is better? I can't say which one's better. A lot of it comes down to your personal comfort level. A lot of people that have grown up with photography using SLR cameras, they're very used to viewfinders, not electronic viewfinders, because old cameras didn't have the electronic type, but they're used to having a viewfinder, and they're used to this being their photography pose, right? They're used to this being a part of their photography. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, there are benefits to using a viewfinder. But a lot of new people, a lot of people that are just getting into photography as a hobby, maybe they started with, smartphone photography, which is getting awesome. Those people are going to be a lot more comfortable with holding out a screen and using the touch controls to enable their photography. So there is, a comfort level that comes with both, kind of depending on your background. Me personally, if I had to choose between one, I would definitely choose having a tilting LCD touchscreen over an electronic viewfinder. Now, it's very nice to have both as an option. Usually there is a cost and a size penalty that comes with getting an electronic viewfinder. So, it's, again, back to what I said originally, this is a personal choice if you need to have a viewfinder in your camera. But my general stance is that not having a viewfinder does not preclude you from having serious photography. The LCD, again, the tilting LCD screen is my preferred method for taking pictures. The viewfinder just comes in handy for certain situations. So that's my take on the EVF versus LCD, but I'm interested in yours. Do you have a preference? Leave it in the comments down below, and maybe hit the like button if you like this video. If you want more like this, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next episode of Micromatic.